All right, so this Ask HershNoeie kind of touches on a topic that I talked about before, and this is obviously with interracial dating. And we have people who, and I saw in some of the comments, and I just kind of ignore them because it's like if you're from a different country, you don't get it. You have to be born here to understand the psychology with race in America. And you can live here and move here, whatever, but it's still not quite the same to understand the psychology of America like it is growing up here and going to school and doing all of that. Now, if you came here when you were a kid, that's a completely different thing. But if you came here as an adult, it's a completely different thing to understand the psychology. Going to school and being a person of color has a huge impact on a lot of people. So I never try to explain to people the psychology of race in America until you've been born here and you understand it, or you've grown up here and you understand it that way, because you're never going to understand it. Because I have people who will comment, I don't understand why race is such a big deal in America. Well, you're right. You're not going to understand. But this person wrote a question, and it's an Ask HershNoeie. And she said, Herschel, I have a question for you. My name is I almost said, I'm going to say their name because they said it's okay to mention their name. Her name is Amber. Makes it easier because there's going to be a few different other people in the conversation she's talking about. My name is Amber, and I am a white girl from the Midwest. She mentions where she's from in the Midwest. I prefer dating only black men. It seems like if you have a preference of only dating black men and you are a female, especially a white female, there is a lot of judgment that people will cast onto you. They will typically say that there's some sort of racism involved, some sort of fetish involved, versus saying, why can't people love who they want to love and be able to celebrate that? For example, my sister had a hard time early on understanding my preferences, and finally now has kind of moved on from it. My dad even had an okay understanding as early on as to why I only prefer dating black men. She goes on to mention that her mother had passed away, but her mother was completely okay with it, and her mother at one point in time has dated black men. She goes on to say that it seems like if I were to date a Hispanic person or anybody else, no one has anything to say. But if I were to date a black man, there's a lot of negativity thrown my way and also his way. She goes on to mention that oftentimes, even from his own community, people will say that he's a sellout or whatever the case may be. And people will say that no one would want me because I've been with someone who's black, is what she's trying to say. She continues and says that why do you think that this is the case? I understand there are going to be people who will say, why are you worried about it? It doesn't matter what people think. And I get that. I can care less what people think, but I just don't understand why this is still an issue in 2021. And you have some people who will say, I'm not racist, you can date whoever you want. However, they still will judge you as a white person dating a black man, a white woman dating a black man, and they will also judge the black man dating really anyone. Let's see. It goes. There's a scenario in here. I'm trying to weed through that because it's not really that important. I mean, I've read this twice, but oh, she goes on to say, maybe I attract a lot of attention because I am a ginger, so I'm extremely pale, and maybe that draws people's attention towards me whenever I'm out with someone who I'm dating. I'm not really sure, but it seems like I always face that same type of situation no matter where I go. If I go to his hometown, I get a lot of stares. In my hometown, I get a lot of stares when I'm with him and a lot of judgment. I've even had comments hurled our way when we have been out in public. And she goes on to say that this is not an attack against anyone. I've had white men and black women even comment about who I'm with. Not all. I've had some black women who treat us very well, but there's a few that have always either looked or stared or made some sort of judgment call. And She says, typically the responses I get from white men are either they look at me and laugh or they shake their head. It's a shame this is going on in 2021. What are your thoughts? Okay. It's a much bigger email, right? There are some people who are uncomfortable talking about race, and I don't quite understand why. And I had mentioned early on that if you haven't been born here, because you get those comments from people from, I don't know what country they're from, and they're like, why is race such a big deal in America? In America, I don't understand. But it's like race is a big issue everywhere. Because as the gentleman who didn't like the fact that the Japanese woman liked the black dude, he's from Japan, right? You have the same issue when you go to parts of Europe. You have the issue when you go to India. If it's a black dude dating somebody, I don't know of a place on the planet where race doesn't come into play somewhere. Maybe not systemically like you may have here, but somewhere you're going to have a bigot. That's just the way it always has been, always will be. And people like that wrote to me, Amber's not trying to reach out to those people. Neither am I. I can care less. But what her main thing is the whole sense of understanding why this is still a persistent issue. And people will say, well, because you guys keep talking about it. No, when you don't talk about it is when it becomes a problem. When you talk about what you have in similarity, because, for example, cholinergic urticaria, I have CU, right? Before I had it, I thought I was the only person on the planet that had this issue. And I didn't even know the name of it at the time. I thought I was the only person. Later, I found out that there was a name for it because the dermatologist didn't even know. Then I basically did a video talking about it, and I got a lot of people responding. That's something I have. That's something that I have. Oh, I have this too. And guess what? There's a whole community on Facebook and different places of people talking about their issues and ways to deal with problems that they face. So their world doesn't seem so small anymore. It's a lot bigger. There's a support system. When people like Amber write to me or the Japanese lady or whoever write to me, it's because they want a sense of community, because where they're at, they're not getting that. They're not getting that sense of community from the people who are around them. They're being judged on something as simple as skin color, which is stupid. But unfortunately, there's a lot of primitive thinking people. I also had someone else saying that, who again, I didn't reply to. I think I deleted it. I think first Google caught it because I was saying the whole thing about politics and tribalism. And this guy wrote back saying that it's not tribalism, it's something that he was saying. And then he was saying that tribalism would be if we were in Africa and we were talking about, because he thinks that only Africans have tribes, right? It shows you how dumb some people actually are. There's not a continent that didn't have tribes. You had tribes up in Europe. They may have called them clans, but you had tribes all over the planet. I mean, some people are just so stupid. So I don't really necessarily go through and try to educate people about stuff that they should easily either A, look up and find, or B, find someone that really wants to take the time to explain it to them. And then maybe they can kind of grasp it. But it's like some people are just so dumb. They have this elevated view of Europe and this which is funny because if you understand the history of Europe and how each country and each different tribe or clan treated each other, it's funny. It's funny. And it's just funny. It's funny to me that people don't quite get that. And that lasted well until, I mean, there's people alive now who can still remember stuff like that. Right? I mean, duh. But anyhow, so to get back to Amber's point, I think that you are absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. The reason why I think that people have such a big issue is because at one point, and even maybe some people would argue today, white women were put on such a pedestal of being like, the sense of purity and this delicate flower, and then black women are seen as these big old super beasts, and you just can't. And still, some people view it that way. You just can't just be with. You shouldn't. You can't do that, and stay away from them because they're going to hurt you. They're going to harm you. They're going to do this, and then it takes just one person saying, I'll try it and see what happens. And then when nothing happens bad, people will say that was just BS. You cannot police people's love. It doesn't work. People's tried to do that like since the dawn of time. You can't police what people do. It goes the other direction. You see what I'm saying? Like, it goes the opposite direction. And a lot of times people vote with their feet. Either the community changes, like my hometown of Bowling Green, Kentucky, because at one point in time, people stared at you. Especially if you were a black dude with anybody, people would stare at you. Now it's way accepted. And we're talking the South, way accepted. Like, it's kind of what people expect. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's what people expect. It's not like a moment. It used to be, I remember that. It used to be like, and now it's like, oh, well, big deal. Not a big deal. And you will take some of them, and it has nothing to do with even politics. You will have some of the most conservative white families, and their daughter is married to a black dude. See, it's not about that. And that's why I tell people this whole political stuff. Where I'm from, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like there's some black people who are against black men, especially dating interracially. Where I'm from, that doesn't make sense. Most of the black women I know where I'm from can care less. Like, they're like, whatever. And there's some black women who, where I'm from, date white dudes too, or married to white dudes. Nobody cares. Like, I never knew there was this much of an issue. Right? Until 6 years ago. And that was mainly because of online, because other parts of the country, and it doesn't matter if it's a big city or not, doesn't matter if it's a red state or a blue state or a green state or a purple state or a speckled state, you have some places where that is just not what people like. They're just not down with that. They're not down with that. Some communities not down with that. And you would think it would be completely different, but that's not the case. Example, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You a black dude, better not be seen with nobody else. I'm just saying, it's not picking on Milwaukee. I went there. I had more eyes on us. It was just like, another one, Kansas City, Missouri. We were in a store. And the workers at the store, 2 women, were just, like, they were doing work together, just like staring at us. It was just so weird. Now, I'm not saying that they were thinking something negative. I'm not one of those people that, well, why are you staring at me? I'm not thinking that they're thinking something negative or anything like that. They may think, wow, that's a beautiful combination. I never thought black dude and Asian chick. Or, oh, that's pretty cool. Their kids are, what? Maybe. But you also don't want to be a person. I'll have my little microscope in here, because not my microscope, but my little magnifying glass. Zoe takes it. I don't have it in here now. But you don't want to be under like a little magnifying glass or under a microscope where people are just staring at you. Like, you see what I'm saying? Whether it's good intentions, bad intentions, whatever the case may be, you would think that people would be beyond that point, but they're not. Different areas are going to be completely different. Out here, especially up in Seattle, there are going to be some people who are pressed if they see a black dude with somebody who's not black. It just is. Right? Down in Tacoma, people don't care. That's the difference. People don't care as much. Right? They don't care as much. When it comes to a lot of white folks, they don't care. Down in Tacoma, they don't care. Nobody cares. Right? You may have an occasional black person who doesn't like it down here occasionally. Up in Seattle, you see a lot of that. Why? Because Seattle is a city that has a lot of people from other parts of the country moving into, more so than down here in Tacoma. So you have some people who are just closed-minded to that. They bring their attitude of racial integration, they bring that with them. And so that's why. So if they never seen a lot of that back where they're from, and they just don't know how to handle it, they bring that same mentality here, right? So I would just say, in terms of your situation, I get it. I get the circumstance. But also, what I would basically do is be around people who are similar to you. One of the things I do is on YouTube. A lot of the channels I've subscribed to, or if they're not like nature stuff and things like that, or things about Japan, or things about Ghana in Africa, which I have a lot of channels and people are from that. Or if it's not how-to stuff, it's usually interracial relationships, black dude with whoever, typically, right? Because I'm a black dude, right? So it's going to be that, or it may be just a couple in general. A lot of these are people who are like, I don't know, they off the grid people. I have a lot of those folks. I have a lot of off the grid couples who I subscribe to. Why? Because it's kind of something I'm interested in, something I might want to do. But my point is, create your own community. There are going to be people who are in your same circumstance around you. And that's who you should kind of put your energy into. And then meet people like that. There's tons of Facebook groups. That type of thing is important. You have channels on YouTube. That type of stuff's important. You kind of create your own community when you don't necessarily have one. And it tends to be a little bit better. You're still not going to stop the people who are just going to. But you can at least have this commonality. You can at least have ideas and talk about different things. There's a group on Facebook called Black Fathers, and it's one of the most amazing groups I've ever been on, because you have so many people who offer words of encouragement. They ask different questions about what they should do. Their kids are at different age cycles and different things. And it's such a positive group. It's the most positive group I've ever seen. It's just men only, black men. And they're talking about like how to raise kids this way, or, I'm over here, my kid has a birthday. It's such a really great group, because typically black fathers are looked down upon. They're talked about negatively. There's a whole lot of just bad, negative untruths that are painted on all of us, when there's a select few that are doing the wrong things or being a problem, right? So you had folks that says, hey, well, you can't change perception of what people are going to think. They're going to think it. So just create a community that we can celebrate each other, right? Not be tolerated, but we're celebrated. So I would say the same thing for you. Be in a situation where you're celebrated, not tolerated, and never allow anyone to sit here and dictate and direct what you should do, who you should be with, who you can't be with, who you probably are this and you're that. Never do that, because they're speaking out of fear, they're speaking out of jealousy, and they're speaking out of anger, right? That's just not the type of people that you want to be around. Literally X those people out. Stay away from them. Those type of people I kind of am a little concerned with, to be honest with you, because it just doesn't make sense to me. But anyhow, hope I answered your question. Make sure you join the Discord. It's going to be down in the description box below. Make sure that you comment, like, share, subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.